Hello guys, and welcome to my video. As you guys can tell from the title, today is going to be a very beginner friendly, very easy to achieve, talk through if you suck at makeup tutorial. Let's be real, a lot of people do not wear a lot of makeup and it can seem like a scary concept to do these makeup looks, or it can just seem intimidating or hard or like too much work. A lot of different reasons why you might not wear a lot of makeup. I wanted to do a makeup look today that would be very easy to achieve for someone who doesn't wear a lot of makeup. It looks glam and it looks very Valentine's Day without using too many products or without using too many brushes. So if you guys are interested in this makeup look, go ahead and keep watching and we'll get started. Alrighty guys, so let's get started. So for today, I'm actually going to start by moisturizing my skin. I'm going to use my Nivea Soft Moisturizing Cream, and I use this probably every night or at least every time I cleanse my skin. And I like to use it especially when my skin is doing particularly bad, because I feel like when I am breaking out like I am right now, I feel like it's because my skin needs that vitamin E, that like moisture back, especially since it's winter and it's so cold. So I like to take this and I like to rub it in until it gets really tacky. Now with this particular foundation, I found that my skin doesn't look good unless I put some kind of pore minimizing primer. I'm using the POREfessional primer. So the best thing I would say if you can't afford like the big one, which I know is a little bit pricey, is to go for the little sample sizes. I believe this one's like 12 bucks, which sounds like a lot for the size, but this has lasted me since August, which was my birthday. They actually gave this to me as like a birthday sample, and it has come such a long way. So just because it's little doesn't mean it's not gonna last a while. I feel like this just gets in the pores so that when you put your foundation on top, it just goes on smoothly. So I am looking rough today, so I'm gonna go straight in with foundation. I'm gonna take my LA Girl Pro Coverage HD High Definition Foundation. I highly recommend this foundation. It's one of the only ones that really matches my skin, and it gives such a nice finish to your skin. I like to take the foundation and take like 2 pumps, maybe pump and a half at most, on the back of my hand. Honestly, if you don't know much about makeup and you're still a beginner, I would definitely recommend this $6 beauty sponge, not just because of its affordability, but because it's also very, very versatile. So you could buy this sponge, use it to put your foundation in, use it to put your concealer in, use it to put your cream contour in, whatever it is, one sponge, and you can do a lot with it. And when I go in with this sponge, I like to make sure I am tapping that foundation in. Alright, so now I'm going to go in with concealer. Typically, I have 2 different types of concealers that I use. I use a more natural concealer. This is the Maybelline Fit Me in the shade 25, which is medium. And this has a nice peachy undertone to it. So I feel like it really goes well under my eyes where I have a lot of dark circles. And then I like to go in with a brightening concealer. But because this is a more beginner friendly tutorial, I'm just gonna go in with a more natural looking concealer, and I'm gonna take this in all the places where I not only have breakouts, but I'm gonna take it to highlight as well. So under the eyes, down the bridge of the nose, forehead, and the chin. The reason why I want to do that is because your highlight areas in terms of concealer are where you want to bring more light. Your contour areas are where you want to bring more darkness. That's why you contour your cheekbones. You want those to stand out. You want all of these areas to come forward. So that's why you apply them in those areas. It just creates more dimension on your face as opposed to having just a plain sort of one-tone look. If you're like me and you get lines under your under eyes, this is where you would set that concealer. This just makes sure that it doesn't move throughout the day and it doesn't crease throughout the day. So I like to go in with my Airspun. You want to take a brush that will fit under your eyes. So the brush that I would recommend is the $3 e.l.f. blush brush. I don't know if they still sell it, but I will include a picture right here. That's the one I used to use. It's perfect, it's affordable. I'm gonna use my Sigma Tapered Face F25 brush. And I feel like that really smooths out the skin as well. I'm also gonna use this to set everywhere else I put that concealer. If you want more coverage throughout the day, or if you want to make sure that your foundation really stays throughout the day, if you're wearing a little bit more than usual, I would go in with a tinted translucent powder. So this is from CoverGirl. I have been using this one for years. It smells like chai lattes to me, which I love. And this is the medium translucent powder. So it's a translucent powder with a little bit of a tint. Using the same brush, I'm just going to take a little bit of this powder everywhere where I didn't set, just to make sure that everything is set. Also, because I have these breakouts, I want to make sure I'm really setting that foundation and concealer so that they don't pop out throughout the day, because no one wants that. Alright, so next on our face, we're going to go in with contour. So like I mentioned, contour brings out the shadows in your skin. So this is where you want to bring out your cheekbones, your jawline. If you have a larger forehead, you can put it on your forehead to make it look smaller, nose contour, all of that good stuff. So because we're doing it beginner friendly, I'm going to recommend two brushes. This is the small contour F05 brush. This is what I use myself to contour. It has this little sort of circular design to it. The reason why I like this brush in particular is because I like to dab in my contour. I just feel like I get a better application that way. So I like to use this brush, but any angled brush would work as well. This is the Sigma Large Angled Contour F40 brush. So what you really want to do is follow your natural cheekbone. The best way to find this, I find, of course, you can do the kissy face. So you'll see where that line comes up. But I like to sort of move my mouth to the other side, and you'll really see where that line comes in. Right in that shadow is where you want to put your darkest, sort of grayest shade. You want to make sure you find something that matches your skin tone, obviously. For today, I'm going to go in with my Pixi Maryam Maquillage Glow and Bronze palette. As you guys can see from the palette, you get your highlight shades and then you get your contour shades. So I'm going to go in with this sort of grayish brown shade right here, and this is the perfect kind of shade to contour my skin tone because it has that sort of gray undertone to it, which will really bring out shadows. If I wanted to bronze, I would just use this shade. You want to make sure that you always tap off excess. You do not want to go ham ski right away. You want to make sure you're tapping off that excess so that you can get even distribution and it isn't just a whole bunch of product right there and then you have to blend it out, because that sucks. And again, you just want to go where the shadow of your contour is. But if I were to go in with an angled brush, as you guys can see, I'm only keeping this to half of my cheek. You do not want to go all the way down with this. You just want to keep it to where the shadows of your skin are and where the sort of base of your cheekbone is. I like to have a gradient. So right now it's just a really harsh, dark shadow. So I'm going to go in with the top color from that palette, just a little bit on that same angled brush, and I'm going to do the same thing, but just make sure it all looks blended. Getting it back into that medium translucent powder and my beauty sponge, I'm just going to bake under that contour to make sure it's all cleaned up and straight. I like to use the medium color for this just so that it isn't so harsh and so white under there. I'm also going to take that dark color on the jawline and the forehead to make them look more chiseled. So for an eyeshadow base, today I'm going to go in with my Instant Age Rewind Eraser Dark Circles concealer, and this is in this shade Light Pale. This is going to highlight the brow bone as well as give me a nice base for my eyeshadow. I'm going to rub this in with my finger as well as a concealer brush up closer to the brow. Next, now that I have that in, I'm going to set it. You want to make sure you set it really, really well, and this is going to work as a great base for your eyeshadows to make sure that they last longer throughout the day. I'm going to go back in with my Airspun powder and just a flat brush, and I'm going to set my entire lid. If you want to go ahead and set that even more, I would go in with a white colored eyeshadow. I'm going to take this shade here from the Modern Renaissance palette and just set that from brow bone down to lid. Alright, so we have the eyes set, but before we go in and start doing the eyeshadow, I want to finish off the base. So next I'm going to go in with blush. Blush is the kind of thing that you either love it or you hate it. I kind of love it more on the days where I want to look girlier, especially like a Valentine's Day date. So one of my favorite blushes is this Awakening Rose blush from Milani. It's really affordable and it's just such a subtle little pink. For blush, you really want to make sure most of it goes onto the apples of the cheeks and then it's being swept up. Alrighty guys, so with that face makeup done, I'm gonna go in with my Mario Badescu facial spray. Just as this is about to dry, I'm gonna go back in with my Pixi and Maryam Maquillage Glow and Bronze palette, and I'm gonna take the gold shade from the palette, this shade right here. When you do your highlight, you want to apply it to the highest points of your face. So if you look at where your contour is and if you look at where the light naturally hits you, this is where you want to apply that highlight. And I just like to go in a circular motion with my brush to really make sure everything is blending out as you go. I also apply a highlight on my forehead, down my nose, on the Cupid's bow, and a bit on my chin, in the same areas where I highlighted with my concealer, because again, you want to bring these areas forward with these highlighting techniques. For today, I'm going to go in with my Pixi and its Judy Time palette. I've used this once before on my channel and I really wanted to dip into it again because I really liked the pigment and the colors that are in this palette, and it is a drugstore palette, so it's pretty affordable and you get a lot of colors and a lot of quantity for the price that you're getting. So I'm gonna make this look super simple, something that if you don't really play around with makeup too much, it's really easy to achieve with one blending brush. So even if you are a beginner, the one thing I would recommend having is a good blending brush for your eye makeup. My sort of ride or die makeup brush is this tapered blending E35 brush from Sigma. I'm gonna go in with this color right here, which is the color Pink. When you take it onto your crease, you wanna make sure that you are not going really heavy with the eyeshadow. You want to make sure that you are tapping it off. I know when you watch tutorials, the gurus are always like tapping their brush. I always used to wonder why they did that, but it's because you don't want to go in way heavy with your eyeshadow. You want to make sure that you're starting off really light so that you can build it up, because if you go in really heavy and then you gotta blend it out, it just looks muddy and it's harder to control the eyeshadow. I like to tilt my head a little bit to make sure that I can really see the full plane of my eyelid, and you want to go in really lightly with circular motions. I like to start off right in the outer third of my eye and work my way in. So I like to start out here and make sure that most of the product is out here before you move into your inner corner. One tip that I like to do when I'm doing my crease is to look forward, because I feel like when you look forward, you can really get into the fold of your crease, and that's really going to help you define your crease as you go. And once I start getting this color into my inner corner, I like to go back and forth using wind wiper motions to make sure that everything is blending as you go. So once you get to your outer V, I like to keep it blending in the same way that you have been the rest of your crease, just back and forth. You also want to make sure that you're smoking out once you get to your lash line. You're just pulling up forward towards your brow to sort of give you a V shape. Now that we have our basic shape for the crease, you can go in and darken that up using that same shade. And again, every time I go in with the color, I like to start on the outside and then work my way to the inside. You also want to make sure that when you're blending, you're also blending the outer edges to make sure that it's smoked out, because the last thing you want in your makeup look is to have rough edges. So you want to make sure that you're smoking it out, and that gives you sort of like a gradient as well. Even though you're using the same color, it looks like you have a lighter shade up here as you're smoking out that crease color. So because I want my crease to have a little bit more of a red tint, I'm gonna go in with this middle shade here, which is Brick, and it has somewhat of a satin finish. So it isn't all the way matte, but I want to take the smallest bit into the crease using those same techniques that I was using just to give it more of a red undertone. And just like that, we are done with the crease. You can definitely go in with darker colors to give it more of a smoky eye, but I wanted to keep today's look super basic, especially if you are still learning how to do your makeup. This is a really good way to learn how to smoke out that crease without dealing with too many colors. So I'm going to go in with my lid shade. For today, I'm going to go in with this color right here. I'm just going to take a flat brush and apply that onto my lid. And I find it's always good to just go back with a little bit more of that crease color and just go back in and make sure that when you applied that lid color, it didn't wipe away too much. So I'm going to take it right back into the crease. So I'm not going to do eyeliner with this look. I feel like eyeliner is the kind of thing that can be difficult for a lot of people, especially depending on your eye shape. You have to really work with the way that your eye works. But I am going to take an eye definer today, and as opposed to taking a black shade, I'm actually going to take a brown shade. I just feel like brown is more smoky, it's less harsh, and it's easier to work with. So I am just going to take this in the outer half of my eye, just in the bottom and in the top, to give it more of an almond shape. So I like to take this right into my waterline as well as just a bit below, and I'm going to connect that to the top. So I'm going to start by taking a mixture of the crease shades and smoking out where I placed that eye kohl. And then I'm going to move into the inner corner as I did with the crease. Now taking the same color on the lid, I'm going to take that into the inner corner. Now as you guys can see, I have a really smoked out lower lash line. Even though I don't have eyeliner, I feel like this gives it more of an extra zhuzh to the makeup look. Using that same flat brush that I used for the lid, I'm going to get into this shade here, which is Snowflake, and I'm going to apply that into the inner corner and to the brow bone, and this is just going to open up the eye even more. With all of the eyeshadow done, I'm going to go in with my trusty little eyelash curler, and I'm going to curl my lashes. I'm sure we all know how to use one of these bad boys. Alright, so I like to go in a couple of times to curl my lashes just to make sure that they are nice and high. So for today, I have two mascaras I'd recommend. One is the L'Oreal Telescopic. The second mascara I'd recommend is this Monsieur Big Lancome mascara. If you're not a fan of false lashes, I would definitely recommend stopping here. You don't need to go any further, just apply more coats of mascara. I did want to touch up on some false lashes if you want to go a little bit more glam, or if you want to try something new for the first time and you just want to try the lashes to give it a little more of the zoom to the look. Lashes are not as scary as they seem. I used to hate lashes because I could never get it right. I felt like the inner corners would always pop up. I felt like I always had to have lash glue. I always felt the lashes, and it's just because I was applying them wrong. And it's also because I was not using lashes that were the right size as well. So my number one lash that I would definitely recommend, especially for beginners, especially if you do more natural makeup looks, is this lash right here. This is the style Ritzy from Kiss. It is very, very, very natural looking, and as you guys can see, if you look at the band, it is very light. There's no thickness in the band, and that's going to make it really easy to apply, and it's also going to make it so that you don't feel the lashes throughout the day. Now for lash glue, I would definitely recommend, especially if you're doing drugstore, this Kiss Strip Lash Adhesive Glue. What I like about this glue as opposed to Duo is that when you open it, you actually have this little applicator here. The number one reason why your lashes slip around or don't go on when you want them to is if you're not letting them dry down. Once you put glue on it, you have to let that glue dry down to a blue color. Once that glue turns blue, then you know it's okay to apply the lash, but also know that it's gonna be sticky, so where you put it down is where it's gonna stay. The size of this lash is pretty perfect. This is maybe the only lash where I don't have to cut it down. Because my eyes are smaller, I typically have to cut down every lash that I use, at least, you know, 1 or 2 little pegs. All you're gonna do is take your lash glue and paint it on to the lash band. Once that glue has dried down and it looks blue on the band, this is when you want to apply the lash. So some people like to use tweezers, and that's fine and dandy, but sometimes I feel like the tweezer can get some of the glue on it, and then it sort of, the lash sticks onto it, and then it's like the tweezer pulls the lash off. So sometimes I just like to use my hands just to make it a little bit easier. What you're gonna do is place the middle down first and then work on the inner and outer corners. And one trick that I would most definitely recommend is to pinch your lashes and the lash together from the lash line. That way you make sure that it looks as natural as possible. I am so sorry if you hear snoring in the background. My boyfriend is taking a nap right now. Isn't it kind of funny how whenever you're doing something, like the one day I decide to film, he decides to take a nap at the same exact time? Thanks. So if you hear snoring in the background, I'm sorry. I live with a Snorlax. I can't do anything about it. I don't want to wake him up. That would just be mean. So I guess we just gotta go along with it. So as you guys can see, this is the difference between having that really natural lash and just mascara. And pinching it down is also a great way to make sure that your inner corner doesn't pop off throughout the day. So with the eyes done, we're next gonna move on to the lips. So when I think of Valentine's Day, I think of a red lip. Red lip is so classic, and it's also gonna dress up any makeup look that you do. You could do the most basic makeup look with a red lip, and boom, it's glam. It's amazing. It's awesome. So I'm gonna go in with my Melted Matte Too Faced liquid lipstick. This would be my #1 recommended red lip. If you're gonna go out to dinner, if you're gonna kiss your boo, if you're gonna do any of those things, you wanna make sure that your lipstick lasts and doesn't transfer, and this one is perfect for that. I have worn this through like a 4-course meal, literally where I'm chowing down, and it has not come off. So this is my recommended #1. The other thing I would say that you definitely need is a good lip liner. Some people can go in with the liquid lipstick and just make it look amazing. I'm not one of those people. I have to line my lips first, not only because I overline a little bit, but just because I want to have more control with this first, and then I can go in and fill it in with the liquid lipstick. So the one that I use is the NYX Hot Red Lip Liner. These are really, really affordable. When you are applying your liquid lipstick, you also want to make sure that you are getting these like inner part of your lips where it'll show when you're like talking and stuff. You want to make sure that you're getting that coverage everywhere. If you want to make sure that you don't get lipstick on your teeth, a good trick is to suck your thumb. As you guys can see, it took away lipstick from the inner part of your mouth where it ends up on your teeth. So a good trick to make sure you don't walk in with lipstick on your teeth, because I have done that so many times. Alrighty guys, and this is the finished makeup look. Super simple eyes, lashes, and a dramatic red lip for Valentine's Day. Very easy to achieve, and it's a nice look where you can sort of practice your makeup skills a little bit. And if you don't wear a lot of makeup, it'll be fun to sort of come out with a little bit more of a glam makeup look, something a little bit different, but really easy to achieve as well. So I hope that you guys liked this video. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.